Good day and welcome to the channel. In this short video, we're going to unbox and set up this, the Xebec Tri Screen 2. What we have here are two 10.1 inch IPS screens. IPS, just the good quality screens. The resolution is 1920 dots across pixels by 1200. Now that's an awfully high resolution for two small screens. What we need it for is some executives that want to travel with a little more oomph than what they have currently in their execu laptops. We're going to try this on two different laptops, an HP and a Dell. Looking at this box, there's nothing here, okay? There's nothing on the ends, there's nothing that tells you what's going on. I see a couple of tabs at the end here, so let's just pull on those. Oh, clever. Okay, there we go. That just comes off. Actually, that is a kind of a clever thing to do, so good for them. Okay, so they spent a few bucks on packaging. That's a QR code to get you to the quick start manual. If I need a manual to set up two monitors, I'm not going to use it. So I'm not going to follow that. So let's see what's here. We've got the Xebec unit, and let's put that aside and we'll go through the paperwork very quickly and then get on to setting it up. So the user guide, and I assume an insane amount of cables. Let's see what we have here because of the different options. Yeah. There's a description of what's there, so two HDMI, you can read, so we'll skip that. All right, so a quick examination shows that there's tabs on the side here, so let's pull those out because that's presumably what we have to do. Yeah, they're just sliding back and forth. And this is a clamp, that's an elastic. So let's clamp that on. Now this is going on an HP EliteBook. This is only £2, by the way, this add-on, but it does fit on here quite nicely. Even though it's a thin bezel, it's not causing a problem. So I'm going to tip it up for the second because there's a kickstand back here to help it stand out. But what I want to do first is pull this out and see how this goes. So pull it out, get rid of this. Once again, this is not sponsored by anybody. This is something I'm sourcing for myself, well, for my clients. Okay, now let's turn this and we'll show you the back. And you can see here, yeah, these just slide in. There we go. Yeah, just two tracks here. There's no electronics in here at all by the looks of it. It's all in the screens. So, and the screens fold all the way 180 degrees, which is just fine. Okay, most people aren't going to care about that. What they're going to care about is the next step, which is the buttons along the top and along the edges here. There's on-screen display button for things like color and contrast, then there's brightness up and down. And then on the bottom here we have an HDMI, a mini HDMI port, followed by, immediately beside it, two USB Type-C ports. And those are power pass-through USB ports, so you can plug power into one of the ports and it will pass through the cable into the computer so that it charges. Now that assumes your laptop supports USB Type-C power, which of course almost everything does these days. Okay, let's get to figuring out how this works as soon as I put the kickstand on. So this is obviously going to tip over. There's a kickstand here. Let's just pull that out. There we go. That's good. Okay, great. And yeah, that's fine. I think there's an extension. Yeah, there's an extension there, but I don't need it on this small execu laptop. It's going to be sufficient like that. Now I'm a little surprised there aren't two of them. So I played around with this a little bit off camera to figure out the correct cable orientation. And this cable with the two USB-C ports and the L cable, put the L with the Xebec logo facing you, and it goes into the second port over, which is the first USB-C port. Just plug that in. Bloop. There it is. Now take your USB-C cable, the Xebec cable, and plug it into one of your USB-C ports. But the point is to have that cable facing down. You don't want it bent up, and you can see it comes up very quickly. Plug and play is no trouble at all, and you can see it's automatically duplicate screens. So just right click, go to display settings, and then scroll down and change it from duplicate to extend. Keep changes. And that screen, you can see, actually you probably can't see how small that mouse is, but with 1200 pixels down, yeah, that's an awfully small. What we're going to do is scale that up. So we've selected screen 2 here, 150%. There we go. There, now that is much more consistent. Let's take this window and drag it over. Yeah, I can live with that. That's a rational change. Now, what we want to do is connect this, and I can tell you from a little bit of playing around that because on this side I have a USB type A port, like this guy, and what I need to do is use an adapter. But I can tell you it's not going to work. Fortunately, they have a solution. So again, same thing, take the USB-C, Xebec L, slide it into the second port over. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to show you what I found. I'm going to bring up Device Manager. So boom. And you'll see this blows up one of the USB ports here. So let's just take a quick look. There we go. And you can see here, unknown USB port device, and the reset failed. So what you've got to do is give up on that. I've tried multiple ports, multiple adapters, doesn't seem to work. And what you need to do is use, well in my case, for this particular configuration of this EliteBook, is use the HDMI to mini HDMI. So let's show you that. I'll just plug this into my HDMI port. Bingo, there it is. Now you think you might be done, except you can see it hasn't come up yet. Why is that? Well, because there's no electricity to it. Well, the HDMI is not going to push through enough juice. So take your USB-C, or your USB-A in my case, and plug it in. Bingo. So let's set up this screen. Now let's go over a couple of other things. Brightness. So first thing you want to do is remove the cover from this. And the on-screen display, there's 3 buttons on the top. The inside one is the on-screen display, which gives you color, temp, setup, blah, blah, don't care. Then there's the brightness up and down. So I'm going to turn the brightness way up. Now you might ask yourself, why wouldn't I want to run that at 100%? Well, because you probably don't really like blowing up your battery. And I say blowing up as in consuming it all. I'll bet these are using, gotta be 10 watts. This is using a lot of juice. Right now this thing's running off battery power, and that is going to pull back a lot of juice. So you're best to dim this down. My guess is the default of 50% is probably about right. Okay, let's go over a couple of deficiencies. I've already noticed that even though this is brand new, that this screen is lagging a bit just from the weight of it. It's not clicked in here, which is a bit disappointing. So I have to lift it up to get it to be, where I want it to be. And over time, it's going to slide back down. Is that a problem? It's a bit nitpicky. It's just, with good engineering, there could have been a little, click that this goes into, a little notch, so that doesn't happen. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I don't know if my executives are going to be tolerant of these cables. That's a lot of work. Now, if you're on an 8-hour flight to England from Toronto or New York, hell, this is great. But if you're just on a small commuter flight, it may not be worth the time. And here's why. When you try to fold this up, you have to remove the cables. Now, they tell you can just remove these cables here. But of course, if you don't remove your cables from everywhere, they're going to break. You're going to damage them. So let's just pop this in, just like an executive would. Not going to be too careful with it. There it is. It's in, and they say just leave it on. This whole unit adds 2 pounds. Not a crisis. Let's see how fast I can set it up, knowing which cables go where now. First thing I've got to do is put the kickstand down, tip it up, slide open the screens, and let's plug this stuff in and see how it goes. Bingo. This one was a bit of a pain before, and I see it's a bit of a pain now. So, oh, well, in it goes, okay. Let's just plug that in. Doesn't make any difference which of these ports you plug into. So this time I'll plug into the outside port just to prove the point. Give it power. And bingo, there it is, set up nicely. So let's try it on my less executive Dell laptop now. So this is a brand new $350 Canadian laptop. Let's fire it up. This is a cheapie. Doesn't even have a USB-C port. Well, on the left screen, I can just plug in the HDMI port. And then I've got this giant cable, so I'm not sure that that's a good idea. But that's what I'm going to do. Let's just plug that in. Bingo, it's up. So because this doesn't have any USB-C ports, I can't get this other screen working. That sucks. So what do we think in summary about the Xebec Tri Screen 2, which is a 2-monitor expansion to your laptop that just clips on the back and plugs in with a couple of cables? Well, even though it's made of plastic, I think the product's going to stand up. Yes, it'll get scratched and have some dings on it, but it'll be fine. That's on the negative side. And much more negative is the cables. I don't know that executives in particular are going to tolerate those cables, but there are other use cases for this. For instance, if you're at home and you have a tight space, you're working on a small desk, this might be just the answer because external monitors are big. Also, if you travel long distances, this might be the right way to go. If you're just the kind of person that ends up on commuter flights or short jaunts, it's probably not worth the stress. And from our testing, you really have to have at least one USB Type-C port to make this functional with both screens. Hey, if you found this video useful, please give us a big thumbs up. We'd super appreciate it. Subscribe's always appreciated as well. You can always get a hold of us at www.urtech.ca. That's www.urtech.ca. Or you can leave a question or comment below and we'll get back to you. And if we don't get back to you, somebody else will because it's YouTube. And as you know, everybody has an opinion. Thanks and have a great day. Bye-bye.